like how you ended up going to the NA3HL, which is one of the biggest hockey leagues for juniors in the States. Can you tell us about that process and how that kind of all fell together?
Where do you want me to like start?
Just like how the opportunity came about to be a part of the New Hampshire Junior Mountain Kings and why you think that was a better place for you to be than your senior year playing Culver.
Yeah, so my sophomore year I did a bunch of camps and showcases like that, and I got a couple offers from a little bit lower teams, and I decided not to take them, but it was a good experience to kind of learn about that whole realm of the hockey world because it's pretty confusing. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and a lot of people don't understand it fully. But I think this year, going into it, understanding it all and knowing what the process was and doing those camps over again and getting better offers than I did last year showed my improvement in my skill to get a better offer. But also, I think the reason why I was making the switch instead of finishing my senior year at Culver and moving there is I think I would develop better there than I would at Culver just because of the pace of play and the amount of games I get and the amount of practice time I get. I just get a lot more ice time.
We only played 2 more games in this league that you're about to enter.
But that's without playoffs.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Playoffs, so
that's right.
That adds a lot of more games, and we have some showcases mid-season that are in our schedule, so that adds like another 10, 15 games. So I think that also was a part of the decision, and I also think the biggest part was not having schooling or any of that, and I can just put all my mind and focus into hockey, which is what I love, and I've always wanted to do that. So I think just being able to be dialed in just hockey and not have to worry about like a test coming up or like the SATs that I have to take the weekend after our games or something like that. I think that part of it is just going to excel me so much faster just because I can focus on that. And since I'm entering it at a younger age than majority of people, I think I'll be able to develop through those leagues a lot faster than others just because I'll be more adjusted. Because it's a different game completely from what I was playing at Culver versus junior hockey. It's a lot more physical. It's more of just a job than it is than you're just playing for your high school. So I think that'll help my development more, and that was probably the biggest reason on why I decided to make the switch.
And for people who aren't familiar with the North American Hockey League, and the NA3HL is a tier below the NA, which is pretty much like a bracket where guys can get pulled up to a higher level, and they can also get pulled up to the USHL as well. So there's 34 teams in 16 states.
Yep.
So there's a lot of teams, a lot of high level competition. They produce tons of Division I and professional hockey players. I was looking, they produced like 70 plus Division I hockey players in 2022. That is nuts.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And I think it's also like a league that is able to give players exposure that normally wouldn't have had it beforehand. So I think that's really going to help you. But with the exposure and with higher level competition, like, does that change your mindset at all, or are you just focused on being yourself?
I would say it changes it a little bit, but not in a bad way. I would say it making this jump to a higher level of hockey than I've ever played before. It kind of makes me, I guess, not more confident, but more motivated to perform. Because if I can perform at this level, why can't I perform at the next? And I think just making that jump early and being able to sit in that whole process and that whole part of my career a little longer than what I would have been if I stayed at Culver, I think that just, I guess, helps me be seen by more people, lets me have the opportunity to excel. And I think my mindset going into this is a lot more just making sure that I can perform at any level that I play at and competing my hardest and like showing coaches that I can really play anywhere.
And you're going, this is big boy stuff now. You're in the realm of where you can get traded, you can get cut.
Yep.
So when you don't perform, that is the reality. Are you ready for that?
I think so. I think it makes me more motivated to, I guess, perform and do all those things, and it makes me more motivated to train harder in the off season because I know I have that.
So it's a worry in the back of your mind. Like, I completely get where you're coming from, because I would work harder too if I'm like, my job is on the line every single day. It's not guaranteed. Even in practice, like if you are not performing up to standard, they're gonna find somebody else to replace you. And there's a lot of good hockey players, especially where you're gonna be at, which is like on the East Coast, in North, where New York, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, those are cold places, but those are where the best hockey players in the country are going to go play.
And I think having that in the back of your mind, I think it's good and bad. I think if you look at it a way of you're playing scared, like you're always like you're in practice, you're like, you know, making plays just because you think like, oh, just making the easy play is just gonna make the coaches like you, but you're just gonna kind of, if you do that, you're just gonna kind of stay in the same spot. But I think if you look at it more of just like an extra motivator, like you have that in the back of your mind that you might be cut, you might be traded and all of that. But I think that motivates you a little bit harder to work more, and it motivates the people around you to work harder, which will ultimately make you better, versus if you didn't have any of that in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm not going to get cut, I'm not going to get scratched, or I'm not going to get traded or anything, then people might not work as hard, or you might not work as hard because you don't have really anything to lose. But I think putting something out there that you have to lose makes you work harder and dig deeper into your craft or whatnot.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my heart up on ice.